Dreams. What? What are these? Dreams? Hi, friends. Hi. I did a really bad job today sourcing the music for this whatever this is. Whatever this lucid dream diatribe conversation is. Hi, friends. It's Brendan Mack. Hello. I am one of the world builders here at Lava Kingdoms, and if you like what we're doing, hit us with a like and a subscribe. We stream pretty frequently. We do a lot of video game troping, and then a lot of world building. And today we're talking about some world building that's a little bit different, getting inspiration from dreams that you have for your lifetime to kind of figure out who the F are you? Like, what's going on? As I said, my name is Brendan Mack, and today we're talking about lifelong dreams. Those dreams that you have repeated throughout your life that kind of pop up again and again and again. I don't know if your subconscious is responsible. I don't know if my subconscious is responsible. A lot of these dreams that we have are terrifying, especially later, like in the later part of this video. I go through my history with lucid dreaming. When I was living in Missoula, Montana, I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything to do. So I actively practiced the process of lucid dreaming. And then I got to a point where it worked for me. And then it got weird and really scary. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into lifelong dreams. Buckle up for this terror thrill ride. Boy, that could have gone so much smoother. What is a dream? What is dream? How do you dream? Define this. So dreaming, from my tertiary research that I did on Wikipedia today, previous to doing this video here, is that when your body has to shut down, your brain stays awake. And your brain is kind of like unloading all of this extra garbage, right? All of this this visual conversation. And it happens instantly, right? You ever have those times when you like wake up from like what you think is like a 4-hour nap, and it turns out to be like only like a couple of seconds, but you swear that you had this like whole experiential dream thing? That's because like all of this visual information that we have when we're dreaming is like condensed zip style into like a fraction of a second, that you have all of these experiences very, very quickly. There's a lot of dream brain energy that we don't remember, that we don't experience. It's usually at the tail end of a dream. There's a lot of times where it's like if you, all I can think is like, if you die in your dream, you die in real life. And that's true. It is. If you get water dumped on you in real life, it'll happen in your dream momentarily before you wake up and start screaming or whatever. But there are connections to those last kind of moments, those last fuzzy moments before you wake up from a dream, before you kind of re-enter life. What is dream? We may never know. Why for do we sleep? Why do we have to sleep? Why does my body get to take a break, but like my brain is still like super active? How do I stop doing? How do I turn this off? So when I was going through and I made a list of these 10 different repeated dreams that I've had in my life, there's been a long stretch of time from like 2008. Yeah, 2008 to like 2012. There's about 4 years where I didn't dream at all. I think I was overworked. I had started my own theater company in Seattle. I had been like building and running around like just trying to get every spare minute of my time filled. And I didn't dream at all. I think I was exhausted. I think that all my creative energy was being pushed out into this channel to make things happen. And I didn't have anything left over for like sleepy time. My history of dreams. There are stretches of time when there was nothing. There are stretches of time when I don't remember having any kind of dreams. A lot of people will report that they only dream in black and white. There are other people that report that they don't remember their dreams, or they don't have dreams. I've gone back and forth. There have been long stretches where I've had very vivid dreams, and then there have been stretches of time when there was nothing. A lot of people who take like certain antidepressants or Chantix to quit smoking repeat having very intense dreams. And there's this crossover between real life and your dream life. And it's kind of in that sweet spot that a lot of us creatives find this kind of like hidden time, right? There's never enough hours of the day. But I was like, okay, well, if I start training myself to use my sleep time to continue theorizing about stories and narratives and shows and drag acts, I'll be super productive. And that's what I did. So I'll walk you through how I got to lucid dreaming. The first thing that happened, the first thing I remember in my childhood, see, visual aid, just to help, in case you don't know what that word looks like when I say it aloud, childhood. In my childhood, my first dream that I remember was the Fuga Jaga. I remember this very clearly because when I was a kid, I would always walk around with a little tape recorder, and I'd record these little stories, and I would constantly talk about the Fuga Jaga. And this was a creature that looked kind of like one of the wild things, from where the wild things are. Horns, teeth, kind of really dirty, covered in hair. And the Fuga Jaga would play tricks on people. And his big trick was holding this flashlight out in the distance, convincing you that you're headed off to the great beyond. Middle of the woods, there's like a stream, a babbling brook, trees, you can hear cicadas in the background, and all you can see is just this light. It's like, follow the light, come to the light. You get there and you realize that you're not dying. It's just the Fuga Jaga, obviously. This is the first dream that I remember. I had this dream a lot. I recorded this dream, I wrote it down, I recorded it into my little tape recorder. And from that point forward, I did a really good job recording my dreams. Making sure that even like a half hour, even 10 minutes after you wake up, you lose it. You lose those little threads. And so I started recording my dreams at that point. The big childhood dream was the Gremlins. My father, I want to blame my dad, but I feel like it's a very dad move to do. So my parents would set me and my brother down in front of the Sesame Street Christmas special. And we would be sitting back and we'd be watching Big Bird ice skating to the song Feliz Navidad. And then the VHS tape would kind of like flicker. And then it would start in on the movie Gremlins. So pretty much unsupervised, my brother and I would be like sitting there watching this Sesame Street special. And then it would turn into one of the scariest movies that you could put a 4-year-old and 6-year-old in front of. And I remember my mom running in. My brother and I were little smartasses. My mom running in and seeing like the gremlin on the screen, like freaking out and like screaming and like grossness and stuff. And her like, oh my gosh, you have to turn this off. And me and my brother being like, no, we need closure. Like wrapped in blankets. We need closure. We need closure. And every Christmas, that became our Christmas tradition. Gremlins 1 is a Christmas movie. But I started to have these nightmares. The nightmares that I really imprinted on with the movie Gremlins was the fact that at nighttime, oh my gosh, just talking about it right now, I know I'm going to have nightmares about this tonight. Gremlins don't like sunlight. So I realized that they could move around at night from place to place, and then they're like during the day kind of sedentary wherever they were. And I always imagined that they were like in the crawl spaces of walls or like in the vents. Like, biggest fear, hello, hider in the house? No thank you. Gremlin hider in the house? Big no thank you. So these nightmares, they took place in Byesville, Ohio, which is where my grandmother lived. That's like where the family house was that my dad came from. And the idea was that the gremlins, during the day, they'd all be hiding inside these houses in this really humid, like very rural area of like Ohio, right near the Kentucky border. And then at night, they would like circulate and move to different houses, and they just took over this whole area. So I had this like dream, this nightmare, this waking horror a lot as a child. Wake up screaming, all the time. Like, no joke, just made of screams at that point. And then there was the mall. So this is a weird dream because I don't know if I had this dream first or if my brother Trevor had this dream first. But this was a dream that the two of us both had constantly. There was this abandoned mall that everyone was running away from. There was something happening. I don't know what it was that was happening, but there was some event that was happening way off at the other side of the mall. And we were running. And this is one of the xenomorphs from the Alien franchise. This is the Mantis Alien. I remember we had this toy. It was like this light green color with like the silver on it. Like it's right on screen here. It's weird. It's a weird toy that a child would have. But that particular alien was huddled up underneath this kind of like cafe table outside of a Cinnabon or something. Just like hanging out there. And both my brother and I had this dream growing up as kids. And I remember that one a lot because there was like, you think about like time, difficulty, consequence. We're running from something. And there's all of this like really scary, horrible imagery around us, but we can't really stop to take it all in because we're running from like that big, like whatever it is off in the distance. But we had this mall dream, both of us a lot, and we'd always compare notes. I had that mall dream again. Like, oh my gosh, I did too. And then you hit like my adult era. When I was at college, I didn't really remember dreaming that much, except for one particular dream. That ticket printer sound. You know that sound? Oh, you don't work in food service? Oh, let me explain. So when you work in food service, there's this sound. It's the sound of the ticket printer for orders coming in. Now, I was working as a line cook at a restaurant at the time. I was always working in food service when I was like early in my acting career. It was a really good versatile job for me to jump between. And if I got like a show or a gig that was big enough, I could drop one job and then pick up another job working in a kitchen or waiting tables. But I was working in back of house at a Johnny Rockets. And this is just post-college. And this sound haunted me. If you've worked in food service, you know what I'm talking about. You've woken up with that sound. Middle of the night. Oh my God. Oh no, it's just a dream. That's the one big dream I remember from college. Until the big repeatable dream. And this is the dream that I had last night that has inspired this whole video. So it's what I call the Cannonball Roses dream. So the ground is arid. It looks like what's in this picture here. I tried to find a really good representation of like that kind of crackly mud. There was moisture, but then the arid sun is like dried out everything. And it's a perfectly cylindrical canyon. So see the shape I'm making with my hands? It's a cylinder. The canyon is that negative space in between. And this is the ground, this kind of like crackly texture. And the sun is just beating down really, really bright. And all around this little canyon area are these huts, these little buildings. Very Japanese inspired, like paper roof, like red paper roof, kind of like pagoda looking buildings that have these little metal baskets that are hanging from like really thin chains for all around these buildings that have bushels of flowers, like red roses, and bottles of clear liquid. And there's a giant digital clock on the wall, and that clock is counting down to something. It's counting down to 0. It's going faster and faster and faster. And there's people who are walking around, and they look kind of like Final Fantasy wizard characters, where they have just like two little like yellow like slashes for eyes, and they're like completely obscured. And they're offering flowers, and they say a rose for the end. And that counter gets down, hits 0, bing. And then a giant cork fills in that perfectly cylindrical canyon. And I wake up. Every time. It's the exact same sequence of events every single time. And there's something that's really calm about it. It's like everyone is accepting the fact that this clock is clicking down, and there's nothing that you're going to do about it. You're just going to like accept that, like, the inevitability of the end. So after college, I had moved to Missoula, Montana. Missoula is an awesome town. It's my favorite place. If I could live there forever, I would. But life changes and you move around. I was living in Montana and renting this awesome house, like super cheap, 2-bedroom house. I feel like it was like $500 a month. It was so great. And I didn't have a full-time job. It was like this like break of a couple of months between tours. I was touring with a children's theater, Missoula Children's Theater, who is like the best. And I was just kind of killing time. And so the way that I wanted to kill some time was to practice lucid dreaming. That's where this weird tent comes in. So I had read somewhere that a lot of people who were kind of studying in the science of lucid dreaming were finding a lot of success in these kind of like isolation pods. And I'm like, isolation pod? Well, that sounds pretty cutting edge. That sounds like the kind of technology that I need to do some of this lucid dreaming. I didn't have that. What I did have was a tent. So I set up a tent in my I set up a tent in my bedroom, put my mattress inside of it, covered it with blankets to kind of insulate any kind of sound. And it kind of created like this like white noise buzzing, I guess. And I would sleep and I'd have a journal on the floor next to me. My friends thought I was weird. I am weird. I'm okay with that. But my friends thought it was really weird that I was sleeping inside of this tent in my bedroom, and it really helped with lucid dreaming. So I like to call lucid dreaming. This is if you've watched this far, this is your reward. I'm going to tell you everything I know about lucid dreaming right now. Lucid dreaming is where you have control over the content and the direction of your dream. And there's this moment that they talk about in a lot of the sciences behind lucid dreaming. And I'm not an expert on this. I've just figured out this was my way in. The way in for people is different. This may never work for you if you're like trying, or it might work very well. It took me about 3 to 5 weeks, somewhere in that range, that I was practicing in life when I was awake, the skills I would need to be able to activate the switch in lucid dreaming. One of the things that they talk about a lot when in your dreams is that because of the way that your brain is wired, you can't control the lighting of your dream. That's the switch right there. So when you're awake, I started walking around noticing things, making observations. That sign is red. Looking at a stop sign. That sign is red. Light switch. Lights on. Lights off. Whenever I went by a light switch. Whenever I went by a door frame, I would kind of trace out and say door frame. I would identify these different factors and make these observations so that in my dream, because I had built this behavior pattern of going through and identifying these different things around me, when I'd get to the light switch, I would say lights on, lights off. The lights wouldn't change, and the dream would just open up. And suddenly, you're doing it. A lot of people talk about lucid dreaming and saying, oh, if I could lucid dream, I would just fly. Yeah, you can fly. You can also do a lot of really horrible things. You can also experience and see a lot of horrible things. And this is when my horrible nightmares began. I like to call this little treat the Lawless Circus. This is the first of the repeated dreams that I had. that was absolutely horrifying. It was a circus that was full of all of these different weird characters. I think it was very much inspired by like the Never-Ending Story or the Cantina in Star Wars. Like there was just all of this weird characters everywhere. There were zeppelins, like blimps that were like up in the air above where the audience was. And then there was like, the only thing I could define it as is blood sport happening on the stage. And so we're at this like circus, and it's something that I like really have held on to for a long time, is this like horrible like dismemberment, arms being ripped off of people, blood spurting everywhere, audiences of like these weird alien looking kind of animal, kind of fantasy creatures clapping for the blood, which led us into the discovery I made over this last year playing Magic the Gathering, is that there is a whole set of cards, they're black and red, that focus on the circus of Prince Rakdos. And it's a blood circus that's meant to like appease the demon lord, the demon prince. And I instantly found, oh yeah, I know what that is, because I've fucking seen it. I've seen it forever in this repeated dream that I've had of this weird, no rules, blood circus thing. Which is really disturbing. As I started my process of lucid dreaming, one of the first things that I went to was something that was horrible. Lucid dream number 2. Bam! Buried in snakes! Not fun! Like, not fun in the least. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to lucid dream. I'm going to fly. I'm going to become a fairy. I'm going to solve world peace. I'm going to see grandma. No, I was buried in snakes. And so I would constantly have this repeated dream that continued for like 10 years after this lucid dreaming part of my life, where I would be like, wake up just screaming, snakes, snakes. My ex-husband remembers this very clearly. I woke him up on many, many occasions screaming about snakes. Lucid dream number 3, the endless table, with or without pie. So this is an interesting dream. This is a dream that me and my father both had simultaneously, which is real weird. We both had this dream about this endless table that had this giant tablecloth that extended nearly forever. And on the table, sometimes there was a pie. Sometimes there was not a pie. Sometimes it was just an endless tablecloth going off into nothingness. But in the event that there was a pie, there was also a very tiny woman, nude woman, who was throwing the blueberries like beach balls. Covered in pie goo, kind of rolling around in the pie. I'm human sized. That pie is pie sized. That little person is little person sized. This is the weird part, right? This is kind of like the hot spring of inspiration, is like this particular dream is like, I haven't seen that on stage. I haven't seen that in a drag act. I don't know what that's about, but I'm totally intrigued by it. This is a dream I don't have much anymore since I like moved to Seattle and like, you know, became an actual grown up and an actual adult. I don't have this pie dream anymore. This was my last lucid dream. I stopped the process of lucid dreaming after I had the cooler dream. We know what's in the cooler. We do. I never opened up the cooler in the cooler dream, but I knew that there was a dead body in it. And when you're just like sleeping and you have a vivid lucid dream that there's a dead body of someone that you know, I never discovered who it was, in the cooler, I decided that was enough. I think I'm good. I don't think I'm doing lucid dreaming correctly, because it's all this like this fantasy hallway of horrors that I'm running down. But this is a scary dream, and if you've had this dream, I really commiserate with you. It's scary. It's scary. You think that there's part of yourself that's just like capable of doing that. And I felt for a long time like I did that. I did that in my dream. I didn't do it in real life. And whoever was in that cooler, they're still alive right now, presumably. I never opened it to look and see who it was. But I knew that there was something that was really, really bad about that dream. And that was my last lucid dream. So fast forward to maybe about 2 years ago, about a year before pandemic times, I started having this dream about this taxidermy shop. Jane Austen inspired, doors open, and it's this shop that's full of all this beautiful taxidermy. And there's people who are making orders. There's a big gala coming up, and they want to have like the perfect taxidermy for something. What happens during the day is not as important as what happens at night. Now, daytime, there's this lightness, there's this energy, there's some kind of like romance story happening behind like maybe a neighboring shop and the woman who owns the taxidermy shop. But when they leave for the day and the lights go out, all of the taxidermy comes to life, just screaming and just trying to figure out a way to escape. And what they had figured out is that the woman who's coming in, who wants to create this taxidermy art piece for this gallery show, or maybe it's a fashion show or something, decides that she wants to combine the different pieces of taxidermy together to become this like moment. And so all of these different taxidermy animal characters, which are presumably puppets, end up merging themselves together into this huge thing. Terrifying. I woke up, I immediately tagged some of my more gothy, fun theater people. This has got to happen at some point. It's so interesting. Like the story, the energy, the whole experience of going through that and seeing these different taxidermy animals communicating this way was real weird, and I really liked it. And then, because I am a theater person, the last repeatable dream. This is a real big lifetime dream. For theater people, it's kind of like the ticker that I was talking about with the food service dream. If you're in theater, the actor's nightmare. The actor's nightmare is a typical dream trope where you are an actor and you're about to perform in a play that you were in maybe 20 years ago, and suddenly you have to do it again. You don't remember your lines. You don't remember your blocking. You don't remember a whole lot of anything. And so I made a list of the different, like I keep a very healthy dream diary, a dream journal, where I document like some of the weird stuff that comes up, because that's been the most influential thing in my writing, is bringing in some of this weird imagery that I could never think of in here while I was awake, but being able to like pull from this like subconscious time to like bring in really weird stuff. I made a list of the different plays that I was in or involved with that I had the actor's nightmare. You wake up, you're on stage, you're about to go on stage, and you don't know what you're doing. That is one that a lot of theater people will typically find and just be effing terrified by. So, all in all, that's pretty much my whole dream experience. Lucid dreaming is something I totally recommend doing. Know when it's too much. Know when you start murdering people in your lucid dreams. Maybe it's time to like not. But thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for like being involved in like this weird thing. If you've had weird lucid dreams, if you've had dream experiences, drop them in the comments. I will totally take a look and try to digest what they mean. It is the wellspring of creativity, is taking your subconscious mind in your dreams and turning it into art. Do the art. Make the weird art. Don't have dreams about freaky coolers and being buried in snakes, but do the weird art, friends. Brendan Mack, signing off.